and I lost a few deals and I got a few deals. They were the ones that seemed like the best fit. And I had been doing a Food Network show, which again was it was like a dream. It happened. It was I don't remember how many seasons it was, but I was getting to literally like follow. It wasn't really about my cooking. It was about chefs. And I would follow the fish from the boat that it was caught on and all the way to either to the market or to the chef if it went directly. And then we'd cook together. And so the book was sort of based part on that and part on my upbringing and cooking. And it was it was so amazing because when we pitched that show, we just didn't realize how hard it would be. Chefs are like some of the, raunchiest, rowdy, crazy folks, but fishermen are even worse. And they are nuts. And a lot of them are on amphetamine, like who knows what. And suddenly we're like, we're going to do a show where we go out and we like fish with these guys and we catch the fish and then we bring it back and we bring it to the chef. And like, no one knew how insanely dangerous that was going to be. Like the fishermen got nothing out of it. We didn't realize this, but the fishermen are not getting, there's no promotion or like a show isn't going to do anything for a fisherman. It might make them look good for 5 minutes, but they don't need that. The restaurant needs the promotion. So the fishermen actually got kind of pissed off because they're losing a day of fishing for us to, show the whole process. Whereas the restaurant is going to get kickback for years, maybe, every time the show airs. But it was like, we did episodes in Alaska and stuff that were just, the chefs were amazing. The fishermen were amazing. The places we went to were just unreal. It literally didn't seem real.
Yeah. There is a big movement towards this, though, and I find that there are some like surfers involved in it, like the ecology of it and looking at the source of the food, and it seems to be a really important thing to you. Is that because of your love for the ocean, or just all of it, or how would you kind of sum that up?
All of it. Like, it's so sad. And I won't get into the politics, but like, it's just so sad in this world that like we can't do more of it. Everyone's trying to survive and they're going so fast and trying so hard that it's very, very hard to go find a guy who, will hand line a fish and bring it to a woman who works in a tiny restaurant who only serves, 10 to 15 people a night and just does it perfectly and does it right. Like it's a recipe for failure. So there's so few people that can pull it off. And that's why it was a hard show too, because it was really hard to find people who, a lot of people would be like, oh, this 4-star, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, where do you get your clams? And he's like, I just get them out of the can. Like, God damn it. Really? Yeah. But like, yeah, like Sitka, Alaska, like that was one of the places we went where like it couldn't get more legit, The fishing was just incredible. Everything about it was just unbelievable. I had a night where when we had finished up an episode there, and we it was so hard to shoot these things that we were so tired, and we were like not stressed, but like we needed to let loose after this stuff, and we would party with the chefs. Always wanted to party because their little bit is done. They've been on TV. So then they'd start popping bottles, and the fishermen sometimes would show up. So it would get like rowdy at the end of these episodes. And I was like falling over myself walking out of this bar, and this kid is like, yo, dude, he's like, you're on the wrong side of the island. He's like, your hotel is on the other side. He's like, you need a lift. And I'm like, yeah, that would be great. And I realized I'm like, dude, we're walking to this kid's boat. I'm like, I don't even know how old he is. He looked like 18 years old. And I'm like, this is not a good idea. Like, I know what these waters are like now because we had just been fishing in them. I'm like, why am I getting in a boat with this kid in the middle of the night? And he's going to take me through
to your hotel?
Yeah. I'm like, no. But I'm thinking, no. But I'm like, yeah, this sounds kind of fun. We walk to the end of the dock. There's a seaplane sitting there. A red seaplane that looked like he had made it himself out of like that stretched plastic. And he's like, all right, hop in. And I'm like, nah, no way. That's where I draw the line. There's no way I'm getting, he's like, shut up, man. He's like, this is what he is a fish spotter, and he spends his entire life living out of his plane, and he'll fly wherever the fishermen need him, and he'll be there for 6 months or until the fish leave. And he just has his, bag of possessions, and that's it. And he gave me in the middle of the night, he was like, we're all wasted flying his plane to the other end of the island. Unreal. Sitka's, dude, it's like nothing I've ever experienced in my life.
Dude, so let's talk very quickly. We'll talk really quickly about you're in Vermont now. Right. And you're doing, because I kind of want to finish it up with where you are now. And, it's been interesting talking about every creative aspect of building businesses and you're involved in something new and completely different. And it's called Bent Apple Farms. So, I was thinking about it, and it made me think very much about when Jerry Lopez left surfing and just took off for Oregon.
Yeah,
and the whole surfing world was like,
what is
really?
he doing?
What's he doing? Has he lost his mind?
Yep.
And I don't think he could be any more happy.
Right.
And he found something new and pioneered for himself at least a new sport, and is really invested in mindfulness and yoga and everything. And it's so I thought about you in that way. I was like, you're now in Vermont doing something totally different.
Yeah. Well, I moved back here. I lost my mom to cancer, and I had this farm, which was like a blessing and this horrific headache. And I didn't want to lose the farm, but I also knew I wasn't cut out to be a farmer. And I was like, whoa, I need to either think of something quick or just got to get rid of the place, And so one by one, we started turning animal homes, shelters into cabins and for people. And I got really into the designing of these spaces. And I was able to over quite a few years was able to sort of turn the place around. And then all of a sudden found myself living in Vermont, got married, had a kid, and all of a sudden I'm like, shit, this is a long way from the ocean. How did I do this to myself? And it's a lot of work, man. It is a lot of work to run this place. But going back to the Jerry Lopez thing, the whole, we have recently discovered we take the snowmobile up to a little secret spot, and we don't have bindings or anything, and we just bomb it on it's literally like a banana board. And my happiest days of surfing and of snowboarding were the days when you weren't good. You weren't thinking of it as a sport. You were thinking of it more like sledding. You're just out with your friends going down a hill. That was it. There was nothing more to it. There were no moves. It was just oh shit. You know what I mean? and so I think my whole life with surfing has been trying to get that feeling back. Because as you become an intermediate, so I never got to advanced, but we'll say as you climb, that's in surfing, very, very steep hill. It becomes less fun, which is so messed up like it actually sometimes starts becoming less fun because you're more conscious of like what you're not doing, what you suck at, why the guy next to you is giving you the stink eye, all these things that when you first started surfing, you had no clue about. Like you were just like, I'm going for it. Ah! And snowboarding and skiing and whatever, always, there was something a little better about the fact that like, it was easier to find spots where hills, let's say, where it was just you and that's all you were doing. Like those days of surfing where it's just you and a friend are hard to find now. And so, I mean, that's the one thing. Now I'm in Burlington, partially because my wife is finishing up some classes, but also because I'm by the UVM Medical Center because I bought a kite off of eBay because I was like, the propulsion issue is like, that's what gets you away from the crowds. Like if you can have a kite, you can go surf by yourself in a place where there's not going to be anybody. So I bought the stupid thing off of eBay and I went flying through the air like 30 feet, landed on my head, heard a snap. And now I am as close to the UVM Medical Center as I can get so that I can get neck injections and steroids and everything so that I can, there was a while where I couldn't even talk because I would get compressions on my chest. So it's been a long, long battle and I can't paddle. So when I surf now, I have to use one of those giant Mega Magics, like 5 inches thick. And it's sad and it's really frustrating for me, but I'm here in part to sort of like, I guess, do the medical stuff I've been putting off for so long. It's finally got to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I can't surf anymore. So I had to address it.
So just, I mean, I think we talked just a little bit like about almost like the curation of these cabins that you're building. And from a design sense, I'm amazed by them. And it makes me think very much of what you were doing way back in Williamsburg, where you were like curating and crafting a vibe or a feel or a look that was authentic. When you walked in there, you felt like you were there. And I feel like you're like the best flea market shopper that I know. You're like the best antique shopper that I know. You have an eye.
I think you're right, and it's to a detriment. Like it's definitely what you said. It's more of an art. It would have to be more of an installation and a performance piece than a restaurant or a cabin, because like they are sometimes too authentic. Like people come and they're like, dude, I just got like the worst splinter on your floor. And I'm like, that's because it came out of a 200-year-old schoolhouse from Vermont. And like we pulled every single board by hand and like pulled the nails and like maybe I missed one, but like that shit, I'm not sanding. Like that is legit Vermont. And like it does definitely bite me in the ass from time to time.
Like there's dust on these light fixtures from 200 years ago.
Yeah, I will not. When I buy these lights, the guy's like, "I'm going to clean them up for you." I'm like, "Do not clean them up for me." And I get reviews that are like, "The lights are disgusting," and I'm like, "I'm not going to clean the lights. They look awesome."
All right, man. We're gonna try to wind this up here. We do this with everybody that comes on the show. We do this thing called On the Clock, right? And we're going to try to answer these questions rapid fire rapid fire, like, and we're not going to elaborate. It's just going to be like question, answer. All right.
I'm so bad at this. Okay. All
right. Here it goes. All right. What are you currently riding, surf or snow?
Whew. Well, I told you about my surfboard, and on snow, I am either on a home built, like it's just a wood, literally it's just a wood board, or I'm on my skis and I've just got to, pair of powder skis.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
What are you currently
and ice skis and rock skis?
Oh yeah, when you're on a snowmobile tracking for your own spot, you got to have a couple